When you think of horror games, you typically think of games like Amnesia, Alien Isolation, or Outlast, right? But what if I told you one of the most overlooked horror games is a sci-fi shooter that was released all the way back in 2001? A sci-fi horror story that incorporates not only one, but numerous different genres of horror into one butt-clenching experience for gamers to play through. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the most surprising and often overlooked aspects of horror of Halo. Before we begin our deep dive into the horrors of Halo, I'd like to take a moment to shout out today's sponsor, you, the viewer. Without your support, I'd just be some dude talking into a microphone. So if you like videos like this and you want to see more videos like this, consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. It lets me know I'm doing a good job while also keeping you up to date on the latest uploads. So again, thank you. Without further ado, let's start with the arguably most scariest Halo game of them all. If you've played Combat Evolved before, you'll know about the level 343 Guilty Spark. But for those of you who haven't, let me break it down for you. You, as the Master Chief, are dropped off by Foehammer, your trusted Pelican pilot friend, tasked with locating this guy, Captain Keyes. That's it. No clear instructions on where to go, you just go. And right off the bat, the atmosphere and ambiance of this level design is immediately off-putting, jarring almost when compared directly to the start of other set pieces throughout the campaign. Instead of the bright, lush, or tropical scenery that we see in the typical campaign settings, it's the complete opposite. It's dark, dreary, and devoid of life. Instead of flowing waterfalls, you're greeted with foggy, stagnant, and swampy waters. More importantly, you're shown the Covenant, the main bad guys in the story, running for the hills. And immediately in your head, you start wondering, well, what the hell are they running from? Up until this point in the story, it's been us, humans, and the UNSC that have been running and fighting for our lives. Meanwhile, the Covenant always seem to be fully in control and on the offensive. This purposeful misdirection and subversion of usual expectations is an excellent way to immediately set the tone of the level. The idea that there's something else out there looming in the fog that we just haven't seen yet, and we as humans inherently fear what we don't understand. We fear the unknown. And right now, there's a magic ass ton of unknowns going on in this swamp right here. I vividly remember thinking to myself as a young child, I don't like this, and I don't want to be here. But pushing past the childhood trauma, Bungie reinforces the horror further by leaving a crashed Pelican just a few steps away from where you start the level, presumably belonging to Captain Keyes and his missing squad of Marines. Another clue that raises even more questions to the player. Not only are we wondering what are the Covenant running from, but now we're wondering if what they're running from also got to Captain Keyes before we could. Investigating the downed Pelican further, we could see scattered weapons and supplies. More importantly, we're greeted by a distorted distress signal, giving unclear details on what exactly is going on here.
We are attacked by some new kind of hostile. This is Covenant. Captain Keyes has been captured by hostiles. Dug in at a large structure in the swamp. Can hold out. Please. I will send this message to repeat at intervals. Dropship Victor 933 clear.
Again, Bungie just further reinforcing that we're not alone out here. The combination of an unfamiliar environment with an unknown foe looming in the distant fog creates a potent cocktail of unease for us, the players. Not far from the crashed UNSC Pelican, we stumble across another crashed ship, only this time belonging to Covenant forces. And again, I should make something very clear here. We are more than halfway through the game at this point, and up until now, the only bad guy we've been fighting is the Covenant. So you start thinking, oh, maybe a huge fight broke out here between the UNSC and the Covenant. Maybe Captain Keyes and his squad had something to do with this. You know, the usual scenarios we've been accustomed to up until this point, with the occasional jackal or grunt scattered throughout the fog still shooting back at you, or simply running away. This hint of doubt lingers in the back of your mind as you traverse the level, and it's this unspoken, unclear vagueness that further fuels the ever-growing sense of unease within us, the players. If you ever watched The Blair Witch Project, another found footage type horror movie, you might understand what I'm getting at here. Throughout the film, we're bombarded with these subtle yet noticeable signs that something bigger is going on behind the scenes, that we just can't see yet. There's no concrete evidence or proof that something is going on behind the scenes, but we could definitely feel it. The movie actively makes you doubt yourself as the scenes unfold before you. It plays with your imagination, making you question what's real and what's not. What's actually a threat from the physical characters before you versus what's actually a threat that you just can't see yet. A similar sense of doubt can be felt within the level of 343 Guilty Spark. Bungie doesn't outright tell you what's going on. They let you linger in that sense of imaginative self-doubt. You don't know for a fact that something bigger is going on behind the scenes, but you could definitely sense something is off-putting about the unfamiliar environment that we've been dropped into. Mixed in with these brief hints of normalcy that actively make you question your own line of thinking, it makes you feel like you're just imagining things. I could dedicate an entire video on its own dissecting what makes this level design work so well, but for now, I'd like to focus on one specific section of the level. Right here. We find parts of the missing squad of Marines, but no Captain Keyes in sight, leading us right back to our original line of thinking. Is there something larger looming behind the scenes, hunting down both the UNSC and the Covenant? If so, what the hell is it? This is where we get introduced to the most unique change of perspective in the entire series, when Master Chief slots in a memory chip from a fallen soldier, Jenkins. To my knowledge, and correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments below, but Bungie never uses this found footage style moving forward in the series, and this is the only example I could find throughout all of the games. I personally believe this is where Bungie went full out sci-fi horror on us, incorporating a found footage style storytelling, literally taking us out of the shoes of the Master Chief, a physically augmented and enhanced super soldier, then directly putting us in the shoes of Jenkins, an ordinary Marine. This significantly amplifies the sense of dread, horror, and unease brought about within the level. Not only are they literally taking away our means of fighting back, they're further pushing this aspect of powerlessness onto us. We're forced to watch as this optimistic, happy-go-lucky group of Marines unknowingly wander into their impending doom. The same way that the Blair Witch Project puts us in the shoes of these three aspiring film students wandering into the woods, not knowing what they're fully getting themselves into. It's this immense building of suspense that Bungie developers decide to let us marinate in that attributes to the memorable sense of dread we feel while playing through this level. We see the horror, but we don't know what caused the horror. We see signs of distress from both the UNSC and the Covenant, but we don't fully understand what caused the distress. Again, drawing back to the Blair Witch Project comparison, we see some freaky shit going down, yet we don't fully understand why the freaky shit is going down, leaving us, the viewer/players, to fill in the gaps ourselves. It's not until the Master Chief inserts the chip into his helmet that we finally get a glimpse of what exactly went down. Upon entering the viewpoint of Jenkins, the fallen Marine, we're greeted with the typical shaky camera work predominantly featured in found footage style horror. With the recording captured in even lower quality, it only serves to further disorientate us as the players, while also being an interesting stylistic choice on behalf of the devs. Drawing back to the Blair Witch Project, we're only able to capture brief glimpses into what unfolded before we arrived. The footage is shaky, grainy, and abruptly cuts from moment to moment, leaving us, the players, to slowly piece together what might be going on. Similar to our experience as the Master Chief, Jenkins, Captain Keyes, and the rest of the Marines sent into the installation are met with numerous strange occurrences. Elite Covenant forces were found lying dead with their chests ripped open, remnants of fighting splattered all across the walls, and strange noises rustling from deeper within the structure. Slowly but surely, as they venture deeper and deeper into the unknown, the Marines can't help but start to feel that something else was there, something other than them and the Covenant. And similar to us as the players, they begin to make justifications. They try to rationalize and come up with explanations as to how and why these strange occurrences are here. It's this slow burn, the gradual realization that something fishy is going on around here, that adds to the dramatic tension. We already know that the squad of Marines won't make it out. It's just a matter of puckering our ass cheeks and waiting for the grand reveal, waiting for whatever is responsible to jump out at us. Before the end of the recording for Jenkins' helmet cam, we suddenly hear loud banging and an unsettling squelching and squirming from the other side of a locked door. Next thing you know, the squad of Marines and Captain Keyes are ambushed, facing down a massive wave of pimply-looking, tentacle-adorned enemies, latching onto their fellow comrades, tearing open their chests, and burrowing deep inside of their bodies. You can see the panic ensuing as they try to peel away the wart-like creatures, but there's simply too many of them. Overwhelmed with fear and panicked at the sight of their squad mates being torn apart from the inside out, many Marines start to abandon the mission, further adding to the mess they found themselves in. And let's face it, who wouldn't run, right? Like, the dude's literally getting his chest torn open as a creature nestles itself deeper inside his guts. That's fucked up. But why does the found footage style work so well here? It forces you to think and feel like the character we're viewing the world from. It puts into perspective just how horrific the scene actually is. Us playing as the Master Chief, we might not have the same reaction as Jenkins or the other Marines, especially when we're adorned head to toe in titanium armor. It simply wouldn't have the same effect. We wouldn't be able to see with our own eyes just how destructive the flood can be. Not only that, but we find ourselves standing in the exact spot where a squad of Marines was just devoured by this newfound infection. Instead of watching back the replay and thinking they are in danger, you start thinking, I'm in danger. I could end up like this squad of Marines if I don't act fast, especially when you're in the middle of this hostile environment, isolated and alone. You've got no backup or no extra support coming to bail you out. You get the sense that you're next on the chopping block, which carries far more emotional impact than if you had just been simply attacked outright from the very beginning. The found footage perspective gives us a closer look on just how vulnerable humans really are in this setting, but it also forces us to recognize how woefully underprepared we were at facing this newfound enemy. Instead of the typical hoorah energy we had in the earlier campaign levels, we're now faced with screams of terror as Marines abandon their post, desperately trying to escape what they had just uncovered. It takes away that feeling of triumphant invulnerability we get when viewing the world through the Master Chief's lens, and instead puts us in the viewpoint of a very vulnerable and terrified Marine. This, in my opinion, reaches us, the player, on a far deeper level than if we were just seeing things from Chief's point of view. Instead of trying to empathize with an augmented and enhanced super soldier, we're empathizing with Jenkins, an ordinary human. And right now, Jenkins is watching his buddies get ripped to shreds. Even Captain Keyes is at a loss for words, completely overwhelmed by the horrors that they had just uncovered, locked away here. Like, if the dude in charge of your main fighting force is fumbling around trying to figure out what to do, there is no chance in hell an ordinary Marine would be able to maintain their composure in a scenario like this. I mean, I know I wouldn't. I just paused the game and exited to main menu when I first played through this level. To sum up this chapter on found footage style horror, I believe it's a greatly underrated and underutilized aspect of storytelling that we normally don't get to see often in the Halo games. We are almost always viewing the world through the lens of a super soldier, a Spartan, gallivanting across the galaxy and saving the universe, not from the eyes of a normal human just doing their best to stay alive. It's something I wish we had more of to truly put into perspective just how terrifyingly uncaring the setting of Halo actually is to humanity, while simultaneously showing us just how important it was that Spartans did exist and how much hope they were able to inspire into ordinary citizens living throughout the events that took place. Long story short, the level 343 Guilty Spark is big scary. Next chapter we're going to be talking about Halo 3, more specifically the level Cortana. Similar to the start of Combat Evolved's level 343 Guilty Spark, you're once again dropped into an unfamiliar environment, given vague instructions, and sent out to investigate on your own. Only this time, instead of searching for Captain Keyes and his missing squad of Marines, you're searching for Cortana, your AI companion. And right off the bat, this shit is gross. I mean, Chief even takes a second to look down at his boots, shaking off whatever gunk he just stepped in. The level design is similar to 343 Guilty Spark in the sense that You're isolated, lost, and sent out in the middle of buttfuck nowhere. Only this time, Bungie flips the script on us. Instead of taking time to build suspense and allowing us to sit in that suspense, imagining what could be out there, Bungie decides to shove it directly in our faces. From the very beginning, we're fully immersed in all of the grotesque horrors that they've managed to concoct for this level. There are these massive, pimply looking things on the walls, large, dangly tentacle bits from the ceiling, and even more hordes of infected enemies, all deformed with remnants of what used to be a person, or alien, or whatever the fuck this is. It reminds me a lot of the movie Saw, less about the traps, more so about the art style and set design, and well, the gore. Saw unsettles you with its over-the-top visuals. Dirty bathrooms, dingy warehouses, and doo-doo smeared all over the walls. The same applies here. Anywhere you look, you're fully surrounded by the mess and depravity that resides here. Tight, claustrophobic corridors, random bits and pieces of fallen friends and foes scattered about. It's uncaring of who or what steps foot inside. You're simply at the mercy of the environment you find yourself in. Taking a closer look at the actual body horror aspect of it, the Flood are constantly consuming and evolving as you fight your way through the level. Enemies that you had once defeated are suddenly reanimated as spores continue to burrow their way back inside of the other dead corpses, digging deeper into their chest cavities before raising them back from the dead. The only way of permanently dispatching them is to completely destroy the host, meaning you can't leave any of it intact. It's this never-ending cycle of ripping and tearing that you can't escape from. And I don't think I need to explain how ripping and tearing relates to our Saw comparison for this specific chapter. Pushing past the gore that could get this entire video demonetized, let's take a closer look at the actual Flood forms themselves. The hosts for Flood infections are nearly fully transformed from their original bodies. Humans and Covenant alike are completely consumed, leaving only remnants of what once was. Faces of fallen soldiers are now forever stuck and contorted, completely frozen in place from their last moments before a flood spore burrowed its way into their chest. Covenant elites are hardly recognizable, aside from what remains of their once ornate and polished armor. You can recognize what used to be there, but you're also able to recognize what is no longer there, if that makes sense. And it's the essence of what this chapter is all about. Body horror. Not necessarily like spooky, scary horror, but more so visually disturbing. It's all about the grotesque and depraved transformation of what once was. What was just an ordinary human like you and me is now nothing more than a deformed mass of warts, empty cavities, and wriggling tentacles. And this, in my opinion, is more terrifying than a typical infection that we see normally in zombie media. And the level just gets worse from here the closer you look around. The large pulsating wart-looking things on the wall are gross. They constantly look like they're ready to burst, like a massive pimple just sitting on the wall or ceiling, just staring at you. The entire level also seems to be held together by strands of stuff, biomass, goop, I don't even know what. I'm sure someone can help me in the comments down below, but nevertheless, it adds to the grossness of this entire level. And to top it all off, everything is very neatly accentuated by tentacles. Fuck. You know, it just really brings the place together for a nice, cozy, and welcoming atmosphere. Not to mention these fucking doors. I mean, you see them, right? They look like a crusty asshole opening up every time you go near it. Everything is designed to just gross you out and unsettle you in every way possible. The eerie ambiance steadily playing in the background. The constant bombardment of Flood screeching, morphing, and lunging at you while you're aimlessly running through butt-crust doors. It's just not a welcoming sight to see, which, again, embodies body horror to a T. The disturbing transformation of once was a holy city meant for the Covenant now resembling nothing more than a hellhole built only for the flood. And that's all there is to say about this level. Everything in it is designed to unsettle you, disturb you, or gross you out in some way, shape, or fashion. The only redeeming parts of the level really for me was being able to blow the entire place up and seeing the Arbiter drop in with a freaking flamethrower to save the day. Moving on to our third and final chapter, Halo Reach. Today we're going to be taking a look at the level Exodus. For the final chapter, I wanted to touch on one of the most unique genres of horror that Bungie manages to incorporate into their storytelling, and that is existential horror. Halo Reach is unique in that it doesn't feature the flood. There's no man-eating parasites or tentacles or whatever the fuck these are. Instead, we have genocide. Nice. This video is definitely not getting monetized. Replacing the suspenseful horror of found footage in Combat Evolved or the disturbing body horror of Halo 3, we're now tasked with facing the horrors of humanity potentially getting completely wiped out by a foe that's so insurmountable it'll have you thinking, damn, maybe I'm just not that guy. Time after time throughout Halo Reach's story, we take what feels like one step forwards, which is then immediately followed by another 2 steps back. Every victory we as the player accomplish is only met with another devastating loss. Every bit of territory captured is immediately reclaimed by Covenant forces. Every bit of pushback given is only met with an even bigger shove in return. Throughout the campaign, you'll be asking yourself, what is even the purpose? And that is one of the most terrifying horrors anyone can face. The idea that you and your struggles are so insignificant in the vastness of an uncaring and unfriendly universe. The feeling that humanity is no longer at the top of the food chain. No matter what you do or how hard you try, you're ultimately powerless to stop whatever might be coming your way. It's the non-stop dread of constantly being on the back foot, desperately fighting just to survive, just to live to see another day, only to wake up and do it all over again. A never-ending cycle of hopelessness and despair combined with the feeling that you're nothing more than a tiny speck in the grand scheme of the universe. You're constantly being chipped away at, even from the very beginning. You, as Noble 6, are a replacement for the previous Noble 6 that was killed in action. You're starting the fight on the back foot, scrambling to warn the rest of the planet that Covenant are en route, scrambling to defend Sword Base from an invasion, scrambling to put together an offensive push in the level tip of the spear. But even then, throughout all of the shit that you witnessed throughout the campaign, you still had each of your newfound teammates to rely on. You were never truly isolated and alone like Master Chief was in our previous examples. It's not until the mission Exodus and New Alexandria that you truly start to feel this vacuum of despair and having that existential crisis. At the start of the level Exodus, you, as Noble 6, crash land back onto Planet Reach, minus the spacecraft that got you off planet in the first place. After arming yourself, you limp and hobble your way towards the nearest city, New Alexandria, in attempts to reconnect with friendly UNSC forces. Upon arriving at the city, you notice things aren't going too hot here either. New Alexandria is currently under siege by 4 Covenant corvettes, hovering just above the city. If you don't know what Covenant corvettes are, I'll include an example here, or somewhere on the screen. Upon entering the city, vibes are extremely bad, to say the least. You hear a distress call over the radio that UNSC forces are attempting to evacuate civilians from a nearby structure off in the distance, Traxxas Tower. And it's on your way to Traxxas Tower that you start to understand just how bad things really are. There's dead civilians all throughout the streets. Covenant forces have escalated their attacks by using kamikaze tactics, and the numerous attempts at shooting down the Covenant corvettes overhead have proven to be unsuccessful.
Kilo 40, request FPF sitrep.
Negative 2-6. Corvette's still coming.
Kilo 40, firing FPF 2. Shot.
A shit show, basically. This is only exacerbated by the introduction of brutes, basically these massive carnivorous space gorillas that have guns and big hammers. And yeah, they do eat humans. And if this isn't existential horror, I don't know what is. The entire time you're constantly reminded of just how frail humanity and civilization really is. Covenant quite literally hover above humans, taking what they want when they want. This is even further shown when you make it to Trax's tower. After successfully evacuating a small group of civilians, you take a short falcon ride over to the next section of the level. As you man a turret, a NPC pilot flies you through the city, giving you a better overview of just how bad things have gotten throughout New Alexandria. There's squads of Marines doing their best to hold out against the constant onslaught of enemies. You fire your turret in hopes of assisting friendly UNSC forces below, but for every one brute or vehicle you manage to take out, there's 3 more to immediately take their place. The level reaches a crescendo as you hear a civilian evacuation underway near the spaceport just across the waters.
This is Civilian Transport 6 Echo 2. I need to go now, Sergeant Major.
Hold on, Echo 2. Start with Dawn. I have multiple commercial craft loaded with civilians. I have got to get them out of the city.
There's desperation in the captain's voice as he calls out over the radio for clearance to take off. But with the Covenant corvettes still overhead, no clearance is given. And with brutes forcing their way towards the civilian evac and no time left to wait, the captain makes a last-minute decision to leave anyways, hoping and praying that he could safely evacuate all of the civilians on board.
Mayday! Mayday!
6 Echo 2, can you maintain altitude?
Negative! We're going down!
Bitch, I can't watch this.
Fox Actual, should we send search and rescue birds?
Negative, dispatch. No point.
It's a lose-lose situation. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. This, I feel, perfectly encapsulates the existential horror that Halo Reach provides to us as a player. Humanity on the brink of total collapse. Your hands are tied, and no matter how hard you struggle, nothing seems to change. The outcome almost seems inevitable at times. However, on the brighter side of things, I believe this is what makes the Halo games so special. Not talking about the whole genocide and human extinction part, but the courageous acts humanity performs in the face of these existential crises. Crises? The bravery to keep fighting back, the grit and determination to endure hardship, and the sacrifices made just to save one more human life. Taking the time to go back and examine each of these levels individually, I realized that Halo isn't all about being the hyper-lethal super soldier gallivanting across the galaxy and saving the day, even if at some points in the story it certainly feels like it. Halo's about the fight and struggles that humanity faces, what they do to overcome those struggles, and how they're forced to adapt to these new unfortunate circumstances. Without fear, there is no courageous story. Without loss, there can be no heroic actions. Without sacrifice, there can be no heartfelt promises to keep. If there wasn't a real threat, a real force to be reckoned with, Halo would just be another monotonous first-person shooter. But it's because of these horrors that we face throughout the story that it isn't just another monotonous first-person shooter. There's texture to it. Your emotions go up and down as you empathize with the characters we see on screen. The same way Jenkins felt during the Flood reveal in Combat Evolved, we feel that same fear. The same way the Master Chief felt grossed out when he got to High Charity and it was infested by the Flood, we feel that same disgust. The same way Noble Team feels their utter hopelessness of their fight on Planet Reach, we feel that same hopelessness and despair. These storytelling elements translate not only emotionally through us, but through our actions as well. We might rush or hurry through certain sections of a level just to get it over with, or we might linger a little bit longer, opting to stay in the fight, attempting to save as many civilians and Marines as we can. The same way how watching a horror movie at the theaters or at home on the couch, we may squint our eyes and put our hands up to temporarily shield us from whatever's on screen. Or we might even skip a scene outright opting not to watch it at all. Horror is an interesting storytelling element that enhances everything else in game. Everything is felt on a deeper level, like adding spices to a soup. Yeah, it may hurt, and sometimes it could be downright unpleasant, but if you manage to balance everything right, you'll get something completely unique and worth sweating through. I'm just talking on my ass now. I don't even like soup like that. If you enjoyed this video and enjoyed hearing me ranting about Halo and horror movies, consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. I put a lot of work into this video, and your support is greatly appreciated.